Hi, this is Jürgen Rasmussen. Welcome to the Provocative Hypnosis vlog. In this episode, I want to talk about what I call the Halle Berry experiment and the importance of novelty, engagement, emotion, and artistry when you work with clients and do your best to help people change. So, a while back, I worked with a guy who had a lot of anxiety regarding some medical procedures that he was going to go through in the near future. And he also had some anxiety connected to some performance settings at work as well. And he asked for my help in dealing with this. And as you know, if you're following my channel, I like to experiment with various frameworks, different modalities. So and one thing that I always do is I mainly help people change their relationship to their thoughts and feelings. Not so much try to change what they think, but change their relationship to their inner experience. That's where the gold lies. So I was playing with this, what they in metacognitive therapy called detached mindfulness technique that they call the tiger experiment. And in the tiger experiment, you kind of have someone just imagine a tiger, and then you kind of lean back and you get curious about what the tiger wants to do without interfering with the thought stream or the movie in any way. And the whole idea here is to learn to relate to thoughts in a kind of mindful but simultaneously detached way. Now, one thing I noticed though with this guy was that it was really hard for him to concentrate on that and to engage with it. Because I mean, imagine a tiger, what the hell is that? And I noticed this with a few other guys as well. So I said to him, look, is there any woman that really turns you on? Like a female actress or some sort of, and he shot back, Halle Berry. She just rocks my world. I said, okay, this time imagine Halle Berry, and she has a stripper pole and there's all sorts of stuff, and just kind of get curious about what Halle wants to do and how this evolves, and maybe for all you know, Charlize Theron is gonna show up as well. And I mean, all his concentration problems were gone. Now you had novelty, you had engagement, you had focused attention. He was enjoying this, right? So now he could do the exact same exercise with no problems whatsoever because you gave him something that was a bit more engaging. This is why a lot of my client stories and the analogies that I use with people are often about sex and murder and kind of edgy topics because it evokes that emotion, that novelty, that fascination. It gets people kind of switched on. And he noticed that he was able to to kind of watch Halle do whatever she wanted to do and to do so in a kind of mindful and detached way. Then I told him a story about a client I had quite a few years ago who was extremely anxious. And during the first session I had with her, she just went into this profoundly peaceful, serene space. We both did together. And when she left the office and she got into her car to drive back to Oslo, the first thing she noticed was that her tinnitus was gone. Now, she hadn't even told me that she had tinnitus, but the tinnitus was gone, and the internal dialogue, what she called the dictator, was also gone. So she had been struggling with this dictator internal dialogue that was essentially yelling at her and pointing out her mistakes and watching over her all the time. And she noticed the relief of it just not being there, which for her was a really strange experience. And she had a flash of anxiety where the first thought was, how am I going to get home? But she discovered that even though she had no self-referential thinking, the typical like future worry and the past rumination, that sort of stuff, that stuff just wasn't there. But she still knew how to drive. And this lasted for like a week and a half. So she had a week and a half with almost no self-referential thinking. No past reconstructions, no future projections, no worrying, no rumination, just the occasional practical thought emerging. And then after a week and a half, the internal dialogue came back and some of the tinnitus came back. But when she came back into my office, she said, look, that week and a half changed my life or my experience of life forever. Because she used to think that that internal dialogue, that inner dictator, was essentially who she was. And that she needed that internal dialogue to motivate her and to keep her in line and to make sure she didn't make mistakes. But as she said, she discovered that her kids still got fed, she still went to work, she went to her meetings, she was fully functional without that self-referential thing going on. In fact, she was more functional because she was way more present wherever she was. So even if some of the same internal dialogue still showed up, maybe 30% of it, she didn't really take it seriously anymore. Because she knew that it wasn't really a causal agent. It was just a sideshow. And the metaphor that we came up with together was that of a sports commentator, where she offered that, look, it's a bit like being deluded in the way that if you came here with a time machine and you watched the Olympics and you watched the gymnasts do their floor routine and you listened to the sports commentators, if you manage to delude yourself into thinking that the sports commentators are somehow in charge, that they are making the gymnasts do their floor routines because there's some correlation between what they may be predicting and saying and what happens on the mat. But of course, if there's some sort of technical glitch from the booth or whatever, and you can no longer hear the sports commentators, the gymnasts are still doing their thing. The sports commentators are just a sideshow. You don't really need to take it seriously. So I told him this story about his own sports commentator and his own kind of imagery. He had a lot of internal dialogue as well, being like a sports commentator that was just essentially a sideshow. And I invited him to give a name to the sports commentator, and he didn't find one at first, so I just suggested Bob, and he thought that was a good fit. So I had him kind of lean back and just kind of watch, in quotation marks, just listen to the internal dialogue as he imagined going through his medical procedures, and just getting curious about what that internal dialogue wanted to do in terms of predictions, doom and gloom, cheering, being neutral, being silent, just kind of watching it and knowing that it's not a causal agent, it's not who he is, it's just this sideshow. So I had him go back and forth between watching Halle Berry with the stripper pole and Bob, and just kind of watching it. And after a few repetitions, he kind of had, well, he enjoyed the Halle Berry show, way more, but he kind of had the same kind of detached mindfulness to them both, as in, this is kind of exciting, who knows what's going to happen here. And this changed his relationship to it. And then I had him go into this experiential space where I said to him, look, bring up the Halle Berry image again and just experientially explore what's its nature. Meaning, can you grab it? His answer was no. Well, can you, does it weigh anything? The answer was no again. Um, does it have any solidity? No. Does it have any permanence? No. It's just this transitory energy, moment by moment. And then I had him do the same thing with the internal dialogue, just listening to it and just noticing if he could grab it, if it had any solidity, what the nature of thinking itself was. And then I asked him the question, is the Halle Berry thought made of anything different than the Bob thought? And he had the experiential sense that no, the nature of thinking itself is the same. And this made a profound difference for him. Now I've run other clients through this little experiment since then, and the latest client, he found some sort of woman called Chloe that he imagined being on that stripper pole. These are all male clients, by the way. But you don't have to do Halle Berry, but I kind of suggested that, if you ever get bored with Chloe, you can always replace her with Halle Berry and have fun with that. So I guess the reason now, while doing these exercises with clients, they usually laugh and they crack up and we have fun with it, and that's so important when you do change work, to kind of surprise people a bit, to get them chuckling, to get some emotion going, some fascination, some novelty. That really, solidifies change and it opens up for new perspectives. And this is, of course, one of the limitations of kind of the scientific approach per se, or the kind of academic approach to psychology and change, is that it's so devoid of exactly that. It's devoid of the artistry, of the emotion, of the novelty, of the drama, of the individuality. So I hope this was useful. Check this out. Play with it. As always, I see clients from all over the world online for all sorts of issues. If you'd like to speak to me and see if we're compatible in terms of working together as a team, you can reach me at provocativehypnosis.com. If you're looking for mentoring, I do quite a bit of mentoring with psychotherapists, hypnotherapists, people who may be stuck on the meditation journey. And I do some seminars. My next seminar is March 25th, 26th, the Psychological Illusion Model 2.0. It's online. So if you go to provocativehypnosis.com and you check out the seminar page, you can find information there. Again, hope this was useful. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them wherever you find the video. And as always, thanks for listening.